now, so I can't hear you.
Yes, I can. So, hey guys, how are you doing? I am Usman Upworkwala, your host, and today we have very special guest with us. And the name of our guest is Gabriel Valles, and today we are going to know about his journey. So, let's start without any waste of time. So, hi sir, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm also great. And so, first of all, I would love to thank you for coming in my show and giving me your valuable time.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. And so, before moving on questions, I would love to ask you for your short introduction.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Gabriel Valles, of course, and I run a art school right now. It's called MentorWings, and my background is in traditional 2D animation. I worked on some feature films for Warner Brothers and mostly Warner Brothers, and some television shows. From there, I did some video games for a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different brands, Marvel, Spider-Man, X-Men, Spyro, um, among a lot of other things. So too many to name. Um, from there, I've done some comic books and some toy designs and children's books, and I even worked on some educational software. So now I am running my own school, and so that's how I ended up being introduced to you. So that's about it. And that's what I'm doing right now.
That's very amazing. And so my first question is from you. What inspired you to create Mentor Wings, and how can others apply that mindset in their own journey?
Um, I just wanted to create a place where I could teach young people things that I wanted to know when I was their age. Um, and believe it or not, I have some of my students doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. So, one of my 15-year-olds students, he teaches the same way I teach. Um, and he started that when he was 15. He was, getting paid. People were paying him to teach him to teach them art. Um, and now he's on TikTok, and he's got um, over 600,000 followers, and he's just teaching on TikTok. So he just continued something that he was already doing. So you're never too young to start. You're doing this podcast. So my son started his own stop motion YouTube channel when he was about 12 years old. Um, and he's got over 200,000 followers now. So yeah, he started monetizing when he was 12. So he's been making money on YouTube since he was 12 years old. So I'm all for young people starting their entrepreneurship, or starting their passions early, and just trying to figure out, everybody's not going to monetize and make money right away, um, but you know nothing is lost. You're going to learn a lot of stuff along the way. um, so yeah, I would just encourage you to just start. Don't wait for somebody to give you permission. you know don't think you need a degree or any credentials. Just start and just figure it out. Um, so yeah, that's what I would encourage young people to do.
Very amazing. So, how can someone find the right mentor to like accelerate their earning?
Well, if you can find somebody that's already done what you're doing, have them teach you. Even if they're not the highest level, if you see somebody doing something you want to do and that they're at a lower level, at least you'll get up to that level. And then after that, you can seek somebody else and then go to the next level. Now, you don't always need like a personal one-on-one mentor. Like, some people can't find that. I couldn't find that, when I was your age. All I had was library books. So I spent a lot of time in the library, We didn't even have YouTube, so I couldn't learn things that I wanted to learn. So I just had to seek them out. Um, so, even if you feel like you can't find a specific mentor for what you're trying to do, teach yourself. You guys have the internet now, so all you have to do is just start looking around and start figuring out how to do it yourself. You don't have to wait around for a professional or somebody that's already done it. You can just start doing it. If you do find somebody that's done it, it will help. It'll help you like overcome obstacles faster because they'll tell you about the mistakes that they made, and they'll help you overcome those mistakes a little bit faster. So, but don't feel like you have to have that person. Like I said, just start doing it, start learning, um, find something that you're interested in. If you find yourself doing something a lot, like if you're doing this podcast all the time and you can't wait till you do the next person, and chances are this is probably something you should be doing. That's your um, internal drive just telling you that this is something that's important for you. um, Now it may or may not turn into a money or a career, or but no matter what, you're still going to learn something. uh, what you're doing right now is amazing because you're going to become a good communicator. You're going to become a good networker. So all of those skills are going to be really valuable, uh, no matter what happens to your podcast. So,
Thank you very much. So, what are some practical steps people can take to improve their education outside traditional schools?
oh, that's a good question. Um, like I said, when I was a kid, all I had was a library, so that's what I used. You guys have YouTube. Um, Focus on just learning as much as you can. If you find somebody that you really like, um, start following them, start commenting on their website, become a presence in their kind of sphere. And you never know, they might, get to know you. They'll realize, oh, this kid comments on all of my videos. He must really like my stuff, and you become a
No,
familiar face. Um, so, um, and learning is everywhere, and sometimes it's not where you think it is. Like if I remember when I was trying to like I went into video games for the first time. I didn't know anything about video games. So I was just trying to figure out how to do the process, so I would just talk to people. I would talk to the programmers, the producers, also the other artists, and I just started teaching myself all the different language and things like that. um, when I first started, the production was really kind of messy. So I actually started looking for production processes around the world that would help me streamline my production. And I actually looked up Honda because I knew Honda had a good reputation for doing good processes. So I just started studying Honda and how they did their processes, and I ended up using it and applying it to whatever I did. Um, so sometimes you'll find that information in unrelated fields that you don't think relate to what you're doing, but they do.
thank you very much for this wonderful answer. And so, my next question is from you. How do you teach problem solving and critical thinking in your experimental schools?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, that a lot of people like to throw around the word critical thinking, and I don't know if a lot of people actually have thought about what that means. What is critical thinking? What does that even mean? Some people think it's like, okay, somebody told you a lie, you should be able to understand that that's a lie, and make the right decision. Or there's a television commercial that's trying to get you to buy something that's not good for you, so you should have the critical thinking enough to not buy that thing. um, but for me, critical thinking is not just that, it's that and more. It's like kind of what I told you about, Honda. It's about being able to make connections from one thing to another, and use information from one industry and apply it to your own industry. Uh, a good I've been doing some AI tests on ChatGPT and Grok, and sometimes they will give you the wrong answer. So I will just keep asking questions to the AI. Like, I don't accept the first answer it gives you. If I see some buzzwords that make it seem like it's biased, to one opinion or another, I will say, hey, why did you use that particular terminology? Um, and then it'll apologize. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, I meant to be. I want something more biased, so I'll ask it to eliminate all those buzzwords and politically correct terminology, and I'll try to dig deeper into the bigger answer. Um, Another way, a little experiment I've been doing with AI is in math. A lot of people in math, um, they will just, try to do the problems, like, okay, I solved this problem. I know the formula on how to solve this thing. Um, and So what I did, I asked AI, okay, you are the most amazing mathematician in the world. You love math and you want me to love math too. So teach me something amazing about math. So I'm not just asking about how to do algebra right. I'm asking, like, what's amazing? Why should I even know this? Um, and it's amazing because it told me, um, I don't remember it exactly, but it told me, like, there are more than one type of infinity, one, and so it gave me the math for how there's different types of infinity. I think it was like normal numbers and rational numbers, if I'm correct. And it showed me the math. It said, okay, this one's math for infinity is different than this one's math for infinity. So I started asking more questions. I was like, okay, so how does that relate to time? We think that time is infinite, right? Um, so how does that relate to time? And then I just kept asking more and more questions about infinity. And so now I'm not just thinking about math, but I'm thinking about philosophy. I'm thinking about, even theology. Like, how did the world begin? So from that one question of math, it took me all the way to, like, how did the world begin? Um, and being able to make those kinds of connections is, to me, I think, is way more important than just like, oh, I can do these steps in algebra and solve the problem, because that makes you become even a bigger thinker. So you're thinking more instead of thinking less. So hopefully that all made sense.
Yeah, that makes very sense. So thank you very much for this wonderful answer. So can you share a powerful learning technique that anyone can use?
Yeah, I had to learn how to model in 3D using Maya. Um, and no matter what textbook I would read, it just wasn't sticking. Um, so one of the techniques I use, and this is what I teach my students too, is, like, try to go back to the absolute basic idea, the fundamental elements of something. Like, for example, if you want to learn to draw, I go all the way back just to basic shapes, um, and try to explain what those shapes mean. Or if I'm teaching design, I just use lines: a horizontal line, a vertical line, a diagonal line, and a circle. And I try to teach my students how those basic lines are storytelling elements. Um, so if you can break something down to the simplest particle or element, and then build it back up, try to understand it that way. It'll help you have a deeper understanding of why things are working the way they're working. So for example, when I was learning 3D, there's a lot of things on the interface, right? Like, there's just so much to learn, and a lot of it you're never going to use. So when I was learning it, I was like, okay, I just need this thing, I need this thing, and this thing over here. So I just poured all my energy to learning those three things, you know, how to build a basic object, how to pull and push the vertices, how to delete them, how to add them. things like that. And just with those three things, I was able to start making models. Um, Once you got comfortable with that, you would just add one more piece of information when you needed it. So you don't try to learn everything in front and then try to do it all. You learn one thing at a time and then add things to it little by little. And if you do it that way, you will have a much stronger understanding from the basics of it. And then you'll just avoid a lot of wasted time because you won't be using all those things that you don't need. So that's kind of the tip for learning. And by the way, I've been able to learn any new thing by using that technique, even stuff I've never done before. So I think it's a pretty powerful way to do it.
That's very amazing. So, what mistakes do people make when trying to learn new skills, and how can they avoid them?
That's a good question. I think the biggest mistake, and this is in drawing too, is like just like I was saying before, we're presented with too much information. And our brains can only accept a little bit of information at a time. So again, try to pare it down to the simplicity. Try to understand the simple thing first, and then start adding more to it. If you try with the detail first, it's just too much information to absorb. So you want to start with the big idea. Like, what's the big idea? And then you go to the medium ideas and then the small ideas. This is the way anything is designed. If you're going to design something, always think about the big idea first and then add some medium ideas. Because if that big idea isn't telling you what you want, um, adding more is not going to help. So you want to make sure that your big idea is solidified, and then you're going to add medium details and then small details. And then from there, you'll have a nice basis for understanding and learning and actually creating things.
Thank you very much for sharing this. Okay, so how can busy professionals continue learning and growing their careers?
Well, the key is in the question there. So you continue learning, like you're always learning something new. So you never feel like you have, like you're like the ultimate expert, you know everything. If you think you know everything, you probably don't know anything. So you should continue to learn. Uh, a lot of scientists say the more you know that you don't know. So the smarter you get, you'll start understanding that there's a whole lot more to learn. That includes the arts, that includes science. Like I've been doing this for over 30 years, so I know how to draw really well, but there's always more to learn. I can always learn more. And there's just so many things to learn, like painting and character design and animation. Just one of those things is a whole lifetime of information by itself. Um, so never quit learning, especially now because we have AI, right? Uh, so a lot of that information is just going to be available to you. So you're going to have to start figuring out, okay, like all this information is already available. Everybody has it. It can do a lot of the work for me. What do I do? Like, what problems do I solve? So that's the challenge for you guys, is like looking at these problems around the world and figuring out ways to solve them. Uh, and to be honest, I think you guys have a good head start because you know, I think you're 11 or 12, right? Uh, and you're already doing podcasts. So you're already like your communication skills are already on a high level compared to a lot of people that here in the States. And you're already playing with the technology. You're talking to me from Pakistan. And so I think, there's a lot of advantages to what you're doing right now. And you're asking the right questions too. Like, how do you keep learning, so I think you're on the right track.
Thank you very much. Okay, so what's one simple habit that can make a biggest difference in personal and professional growth?
It's just do do a little bit at a time. Sometimes you don't feel like doing the task. You don't feel like drawing. You don't feel like talking or doing a podcast. Um, but if you just start um, and continue, um, that's the biggest thing to do. It's just repetition. I tell a lot of my students, you have all the skills that you need in the world. Like you can do it, um, but you just need repetition at this point. And then the more you do it, the uh, the further you'll get. Your skill level will go up, your confidence will go up. Um, you'll become more of an expert at the thing that you're doing. So just keep going. Like I mentioned, my son earlier, he's got over 500. He probably has over 600 videos on his two different YouTube channels because he started when he was like 8 years old. So at this age, you know, his first channel, he's got 100 and something videos on there, and he was started at 8 years old to 12 years old, and then from 12 years old to 21, he's got 500 and 50 or something like that. So that's repetition, just doing it over and over and over again. Uh, so I think that's as far as the habit, repetition is just, you can't beat that. Uh, Repetition will beat talent, by the way. If somebody's like got natural talent, like if they just come out of, they are born knowing how to draw, versus somebody that does it every day. The guy that does it every day is going to win every single time. Uh, so there you go.
I'm thinking about inviting your son here very soon. So, can he come?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I want to invite your son on this show. So,
Oh,
can
okay.
he come
Yeah.
here?
Well, I'll definitely ask him. So I'll ask him. Yeah, he'd be a good interview for you. So
Yeah. Yes. So, so my next question is from you. What's the one skill schools don't teach but you need to know?
oh yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest skill is learning to figure out what it is you want to do. A lot of schools are so busy trying to get their kids to check off all the boxes, get all the grades, and the kids don't have enough mental energy to go figure out what it is they want to do. Um, for example, I'll bring up my son again. I'm an animator. I didn't tell him to go be an animator. I didn't teach him how to do it. He just started doing it on his own. And it's a different kind of animation. I do drawing. He does stop motion. But if he didn't have the time to go and explore that, he might have missed it. You know, because that's just something that he's naturally drawn to. He's really good at it now. Um, but if you don't have enough time, if you're focusing too much on like trying to get that grade, perfect, or like check off all the boxes, that's to impress the adults. That's to impress the bureaucrats. Really, you want to give yourself enough time to figure out what it is you want to do, whether it's running a business, whether it's being a musician or an artist or a scientist. um, that thing that you keep being drawn to and doing, you need to have time to go in there and start and do it. And if school takes a lot of too much time away from that, then you'll end up with what's happening here in America is a lot of kids, they go to college and they still don't know what they want to do, or they'll even get out of college and they still don't know what they want to do, or they'll end up doing something that they think they want to do, but then they hate it, and then they wasted all this time, and then they're in their 20s, and then they realize that they hate doing that thing that they want to do. So I think if we can get at a younger age kids exposed to a bunch of different things, just let them try different things. Let them try to run a business. Let them try to, start doing a comic book or a podcast or um, whatever, but just trying it and doing it and realizing, oh, I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. My personality is not suited to that. So I think that's the main thing that public schools here in America are missing. Um, it seems like you're doing the right thing there at your school. So because they're giving you a bunch of basic skills, and then now you can apply that to whatever you want. So
Thank you very much for this amazing answer. Okay, so lastly, any advice would you like to give to my audience for becoming successful?
okay, for your audience, I would say just keep doing what you're doing. Like right now, you are a really good example of what people should be doing. Um, you're talking to professionals, you're running your podcast, you're learning the technology. Like how to run a podcast better than I do, because I've never done it. I've done a couple of with your classmates, but I wouldn't know even how to set up the whole situation here. So you did a really good job of doing that.
Okay, are you here?
There you go. Got it.
Sorry, I was lost to internet connection, so we are reconnecting. Okay, so thank you very much. And now it's time for ending our today's conversation here. So, thank you very much, Gabriel, for your valuable time and sharing this inspiring like education with us. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. It's good talking to you. Right.
Very too. Okay, so guys, thanks so much for watching this show and please subscribe and let us know which guest you want next. So thank you very much. See you in the next one.
Right. See ya. Bye.